Chapter 1. The Castle. It was a cold December afternoon. Walter Burge was outside his cottage when he saw the car in the road across the fields. It was Minnie Dawes' car. "Who's she taking home?" thought Walter. "A visitor?" Walter didn't like visitors. "Stay away from the castle," he told them when they came in the summer. Sometimes they didn't listen to him. But this was winter, when not many people came. He watched the car for a minute or two, then he went back to his work. An orange cat was outside the cottage. It was the color of fire. It too watched the car. Then it walked slowly across the field at the back of the cottage and up to Jenny Castle. Claire looked out of the window of the little car. "Is it far to your cottage, Aunt Min?" she asked. "About 6 miles," said her aunt. The village of little Jenny was behind them now, and snow began to fall from the gray December sky. Claire thought about Christmas. "It's going to be nice here with Aunt Min," she thought. "The last time I saw you was 10 years ago," said Aunt Min. "I was only 5 years old then," said Claire with a laugh. "And now you're as tall as me," said Aunt Min. She was tall and thin with gray hair. "Where did your mother and father go? I can't remember." "New Zealand," said Claire. "They went because of Dad's job, and they're coming back in January." Aunt Min smiled. "And you're going to be with me in my little cottage for Christmas," she said. Claire smiled back. Then she looked across the fields and saw a tall stone building. "An old castle," she said. "I must go and see that before I go home again." Aunt Min didn't look at the castle. It's not a nice place to visit," she said. "Jenny Castle is dangerous." "Dangerous?" said Claire. "Why?" Aunt Min didn't answer. She looked across the field at the old building and said, "Stones are always falling from the walls and towers." Claire looked at her aunt. "There's something Aunt Min isn't telling me," she thought. "What is it? Does the castle have a secret?" When Claire got up the next morning, the sun was in the sky. "Did you sleep well?" asked Aunt Min. "Yes, very well," said Claire. After breakfast, Aunt Min said, "I must go to the church in Little Jenny this morning. Do you want to come with me? You can look around the village." "Okay," said Claire. An hour later, they drove to Little Jenny. There was some snow on the fields, and the castle was beautiful. "Is it dangerous?" thought Claire. Her aunt stopped the car in the village. "I can walk up to the church and meet you later," said Claire. She wanted to get her aunt something for Christmas, and after Aunt Min drove away, she went into a small shop. It sold books, pictures, writing paper and envelopes, and a lot of other things. "Aunt Min likes writing long letters to her friends," thought Claire. "I can get her some writing paper and envelopes." She looked at the books. "Do you have a book about the castle?" she asked the woman in the shop. "No," said the woman. "We don't." "Is there a picture of it that—" Claire began. "No," the woman said quickly. Claire bought a book about old churches, then paid for the writing paper and envelopes before she went outside. What's wrong with Jenny Castle? She thought. Nobody likes to talk about it. Why? It was good to be out in the sun again, and Claire went for a walk round the village. It was a very pretty place, with a lot of small cottages and a lit school. The church was at the top of one of the roads. Claire was near the church when a big old car stopped in front of her. A man got out. He wore a long, heavy coat, and his hair was thick and gray. He carried a shopping bag in one hand. Some women were outside the shop, but they moved away quickly when they saw the man. He went into the shop. "Nobody likes Walter Burge," somebody said. Claire turned round and saw a boy behind her. "Why?" she asked. "I think they're afraid of him," said the boy. He was about 3 years younger than Claire. He wore jeans and a warm coat. "Why?" Claire asked again. The boy put a finger to his head. "Crazy," he said. "They think old Walter is crazy." "Perhaps he is. He lives in the cottage near the castle." "What's wrong with the castle?" said Claire. The boy looked round, but there was nobody listening. "It's a bad place," he said. "Bad things happen there. My dad sometimes talks about it." "What things happen at the castle?" Claire asked. "I really want to know." "Accidents," said the boy. "Some years ago, a woman died there. Some of the tall tower, the Black Tower it's called, fell down. She was under it." Claire thought for a minute. Then she said, "Accidents can happen. A place isn't bad because accidents happen there." "She does it," said the boy. "She?" said Claire. "Who's she?" "The ghost," the boy said quietly. "Ghost?" said Claire. She laughed. "Don't laugh," said the boy. He was angry. "People in the village don't talk about it." And he walked away. Ghosts, Claire thought. She smiled. "That boy is crazy, not the old man. I'm going to see that castle before I go home. But perhaps it's better to say nothing to Aunt Min. I don't want to worry her." Claire opened the door of the church and went inside. She saw her aunt and some other women with flowers in their hands. She watched them put the flowers round the building. Aunt Min saw her. "We're getting it ready for Christmas Day," she said. "The flowers are beautiful," said Claire. "There's an evening of Christmas singing here tomorrow," Aunt Min said, "for the people in the village." "Can we come?" said Claire. "Do you want to?" said her aunt. "Yes," said Claire. Aunt Min smiled. "Good, because I do too," she said. "Did you have an interesting morning?" Claire remembered the old man, Walter Burge, and the boy. "Yes," she said. "Very interesting." Chapter 2. The Witch Story. After lunch, Claire said, "I'm going for a walk." "Don't get lost," Aunt Min told her. There was a cold wind, and it got colder when she arrived at the castle field. But it was a nice, sunny afternoon. An afternoon to laugh at stories about ghosts, she thought. Claire saw the cottage, and she saw Walter Burge outside it again. His car was near the cottage. She did not want him to see her, so she moved across and up the field quickly. From time to time, she looked back at the cottage. It got smaller and smaller as she got closer to the castle. Soon she was near the dark towers. There was no sun here, and it was very cold. Everything was quiet. There were no sounds of birds or animals. The cottage was far below her. I'm okay now, she thought. He can't see me. She went over to the tallest tower. The Black Tower, the boy called it. Did the woman die here? There was a door at the bottom. Inside, stone stairs went up to the top. Suddenly, Claire was afraid. Why am I afraid? She thought. Ghosts? Then she heard a sound. She thought it was a bird and looked up quickly. And a big stone fell from the top of the tower. Something in her head said, "Move." Claire jumped away and threw herself down. The big stone hit the bottom stair and broke, and for a minute or two Claire could not move. Another accident? Said something in her head. She looked up at the top of the tower. Something was up there. What was it? It had a head the color of fire. But was it a man or a woman? Or was it a bird? Claire waited for it to fly down. And then it was not there. Walter Burge heard the stone fall and looked up at the castle. His face was white and he was afraid. He saw somebody running down the field. Stop, Walter called. Stop. But the girl ran on, too fast for Walter's old legs to catch her. Claire ran back to Aunt Min's cottage. Is that you, Claire? Said Aunt Min. Yes, Claire answered. She waited at the back door for a minute before she went into the room at the front of the cottage. Claire, said Aunt Min, looking at her. What's wrong? Your shirt is all dirty. I fell over, said Claire. Don't worry, I'm okay. She tried to smile. Come and sit down, said her aunt. Let's have a cup of tea. Claire sat down in a chair. Then she saw something in the corner of the room. You've got a Christmas tree. Aunt Min smiled. The day after tomorrow is Christmas Day, remember, she said. I brought it in from the garden and put it up when you went for your walk. Do you like it? Yes, said Claire, laughing now. There are some lights to go on it, said Aunt Min. I think they're in the little room at the top of the stairs. Perhaps you can look for them in the morning. Okay, said Claire. Much later, when Claire went to bed, she thought about the castle again. I'm not going back, she thought. Jenny Castle can have its secrets. I don't want to know them. The next morning, Claire went up to the little room at the top of the stairs. There were a lot of boxes in the room, 2 old chairs, a desk with a broken leg, and a big cupboard. The Christmas tree lights were in the cupboard. Claire found them easily. She saw some books at the back of the cupboard. Most of them were stories, but then Claire found a very old book. It was small and thin, and she read the words on the front of it. The Story of Gentry Castle. Did you find the lights, Claire? Aunt Min called from the bottom of the stairs. Yes, Claire said. She put the book inside her shirt. I don't want Aunt Min to know that I have it, she thought. Why? But she did not have an answer to her question. Later that morning, she went to her bedroom and began to look at the book. There were pictures of the castle and stories about people. These people lived at the castle many years ago. Some were famous, Some were good and some were bad. Suddenly, Claire saw a word, witch. She began to read. A woman came to the castle about 200 years ago. She was a servant. Where did she come from? Nobody asked her, but soon after she came, things began to go wrong. Servants were ill. Annamab began to die. Everybody at the castle was afraid. "What's happening?" they asked. "It's the new servant," somebody said. "She's a witch." "A witch, yes," said the others. "She must die. Burn her." The man living at the castle had a daughter. She was 15 years old. One day, she too was ill. "She's going to die," the man said. "Who can help her?" "The witch can help her," his servants told him, and they brought the woman to him. "Please help my daughter," the man said to the witch. "No," she said. "It's right for your daughter to die. You burned my sister 3 years ago." "No," said the man. "You lived at a different castle then, and my sister and I were 2 of your servants," said the woman. "My sister Alexa." "Alexa," said the man. I remember her because she was a witch too. She was dangerous, so we burned her. And you are her sister?" "Yes," said the witch. "I watched somebody I loved die. Now you are going to watch your daughter die." "No, please," said the man. "Help her." "Never," said the witch. And a week later, the girl died. After that, they took the witch to the top of the Black Tower and burned her. Today, people say that they see and hear the ghost of the witch on the tower at midnight. They say that they see her fire-colored hair and her green eyes. Claire stopped reading. She did not want to know anymore. Chapter 3. An accident in the snow. Claire and her aunt drove to the church that evening. There was a strong wind and snow started to fall again. Claire watched it through the car window. But she did not think about the snow or about Christmas. She thought about the witch and about the fire-colored thing that she saw on the top of the Black Tower after the stone fell. These thoughts stayed with her all evening, and she only half listened to the singing in the church. She could not get the story of the witch out of her head. When the Christmas singing was finished, she and Aunt Min went back to the car through the snow. Now it came up over their shoes, and the night was very cold. The car made lines in the snow when they drove away from the church, and everything was white. White houses, white trees, white cars, people's white coats.